There is a quiet question sitting underneath your whole life. Who decides your inner weather? Is it you or is it the room? Most people do not wake up and choose their state. They check their phone, their messages, their money, their work, and whether life is behaving. Then, based on all of that, they decide how they are allowed to feel. That is a hard way to live. It means your peace is rented from the outside world. You are letting the world rent space inside you for free. And most people call that normal, but it is not freedom. That is slavery with better branding. Some people move through life like a thermometer. A thermometer reads the room. If the room is cold, it says cold. If the room is hot, it says hot. It only reflects what is already there. A lot of people live like that emotionally. If people are kind, they are kind. If people are rude, they become rude. If business gets hard, suddenly life feels against them. Their mood is not a decision, it is a report. And listen, this is not because people are weak. Some people learn this early. At one point, being a thermometer helps you survive. But what helped you survive can later keep you trapped. Because eventually, life asks a deeper question. Are you only here to react, or are you here to create? A thermostat does something different. A thermostat does not just read the room. It sets the room. It has an inner setting. Being a thermostat does not mean pretending life is easy when it is not. It does not mean spiritual bypassing or fake positivity. If you are grieving, grieve. If you are tired, rest. If someone crosses a boundary, speak. If injustice is happening, do not bypass it with a quote about peace. A thermostat is someone who says, I acknowledge what is happening outside of me, but I refuse to let it become the final author of what happens inside of me. A thermometer says, they made me angry. A thermostat says, anger is rising in me. How do I respond with power instead of impulse? A thermometer says, this ruined my day. A thermostat says, this made my day harder, but it does not get to own the whole day. That does not make you passive. It makes you powerful. Because power is not the ability to control every room you enter. Power is the ability to enter the room without abandoning yourself. You can feel the room without becoming the room. You can notice anger without feeding it. You can notice fear without obeying it. You can notice sadness without building your identity around it. This is where spirituality becomes practical. The Stoics and many spiritual traditions point in the same direction. Come back to the place inside you that can choose. That place is the awareness that can say, this feeling is here, but it is not the whole of me. And that matters because not every feeling is a command from God. Sometimes it is just an old wound knocking on the door. Sometimes the anger is not truth. It is protection. So the work is not to shame yourself for reacting. The work is become conscious enough to stop worshiping every reaction as truth. Something happens. Your body reacts. Your mind starts building a story. And if you are not aware, the reaction takes over. You speak too soon. You shut down. You blame. You make a permanent decision from a temporary state. But awareness gives you space. Sometimes only one breath. But one breath can be enough to stop the old pattern from driving the car. That space is freedom. A thermometer has no space. It only reacts. A thermostat has space. It responds. And that small difference becomes the shape of an entire life. That is a thermostat energy, not control over others, but control over the atmosphere you carry. And this matters because your state is contagious. One anxious person can tighten the room. One grounded person can soften it. So the deeper question is not only, how do I feel? It is, what am I spreading? Real creation is inner alignment plus real action. You set the inner temperature first, then you move. That is maturity. That is leadership. That is spiritual adulthood. Because the world does not need more people who can quote wisdom. It needs people who can embody it when the room gets hot. I remember being in an IT boot camp, trying to become a software engineer. One of my teachers made me feel like I did not belong there. I asked a lot of questions, and one day he responded in a way that made me feel small, like maybe I did not have the brain for this field. Inside, I was angry and embarrassed. I could have let that moment define me, but I took a breath and told myself, I came here to learn. I am not letting someone else's opinion throw me off my path. So I kept studying, I kept showing up, and eventually I became one of the people from the cohort who made it into a global tech company. That moment taught me something. The room can doubt you, mock you, or misunderstand you, but you do not have to let the room become your identity. Sometimes being a thermostat means choosing your future while someone else is trying to define your limits. The truth is, most of us have spent years practicing thermometer living, so have compassion for yourself. This pattern did not appear out of nowhere, but also tell yourself the truth. At some point, what protected you can imprison you. There comes a moment when you have to stop saying, this is just how I am, and start asking, is this who I want to keep becoming? Because every reaction is a rehearsal. Every time you let the outside world determine your inner state, you strengthen that path. But every time you pause, breathe, choose, or simply refuse to add more darkness to the room, you strengthen another path. You become less programmable and less available for chaos. And no, you will not do it perfectly. You will still get triggered. That is okay. The goal is not perfection. The goal is remembering faster. Remembering I am not the room. Remembering I am not this mood. Remembering I can bring something different here. So here's the practice. Tomorrow morning, before the world starts asking for your attention, set your inner temperature. Before the phone, before the noise, before the world tells you what to be. Take one breath and ask yourself, what temperature am I setting today? Maybe the answer is gratitude, patience, courage, service, love with boundaries, or quiet strength. Pick one, not 10. One. Because if you do not set the tone, the world will set it for you. Then, when life tests you, ask the second question. Am I measuring the room or am I setting the room? That one question can interrupt years of unconscious programming. When the room gets cold, bring warmth. When the room gets loud, bring clarity. When the room gets fearful, bring steadiness. This is not about controlling life. It is about not being controlled by every piece of it. A thermometer can only tell you what the world is doing. A thermostat quietly decides what it is here to bring. So stop waiting for every room to be peaceful before you become peace. Stop letting temporary emotions and difficult seasons decide the story of your life. You are not here just to measure the chaos. You are here to bring courage and consciousness into it. So today, choose your setting because the room is waiting. And that choice, made again and again, becomes your day. And your days becomes your life. And your life becomes the atmosphere you leave behind. Even here, even now, even when the room is cold.